Well, we normally talk to the Chief Minister once a week, but something a bit different. We've come down to Jersey and talking to the Chief Minister of the Jersey States. You don't do as much of this sort of thing as maybe Alan Bell does. We talk to him every week, but it was a good chance maybe for people in the Isle of Man to find out about what's going on down here. And really the similarities and things that are going, as an offshore island against the rest of the world these days. First of all, what is the state of Jersey at the minute?
Well, perhaps we've suffered slightly more during the worldwide economic downturn than you have in the Isle of Man, and one of the reasons for that is that we're living in a very low interest rate environment, and the bedrock of our financial services is obviously a strong banking sector, and when there's low interest rates, the margins are just not there for the profitability of the banks, and the banks have obviously taken the main thrust of difficulties in that worldwide downturn. But we are starting to see elements of growth. We're seeing much more optimism in our financial services sector, as we're seeing in other parts of the economy as well.
I mean, according to the data, the Isle of Man say they're now the biggest economic powerhouse of the three islands. Do you accept that?
I think that we all have slightly different ways of collating data and slightly different ways of presenting it. We're probably around the same. As I say, our economy has suffered for those very reasons that I've just said, which haven't affected the Isle of Man in the same way.
Of course, we have VAT at 20%. You've got GST, which was 3%, now 5%.
Yeah. Good
sales tax. Do you see yourself moving towards the Isle of Man model, which is just to go for the indirect taxation more?
No, I mean, our system is completely different in that regard to yours. You share the same regime as the United Kingdom. We have our entirely independent regime, which is based largely on the New Zealand model, so it's low but broad and it's uncomplicated. We want to keep it like that because we think that actually that's the best way of delivering revenue from taxes.
But harder to balance your books at the moment with this downturn?
Well, of course it is, and I think every Western country is finding that it's not quite so easy to balance the books in the way that it might have been in the past, but we've got a strong strategic reserve, we've got an incredibly strong balance sheet. We have started to borrow for the first time, but that's for a specific purpose with an income stream to pay that back. But we know that we're going to continue to have pressure on our income line. Perhaps there hasn't been the growth that we might have expected 2 years ago, and that's why one of the reasons why I'm creating a new ministry with a minister to actually go out and deliver growth in financial services, in digital, in innovation, make sure that our competition law is working correctly, and to make sure that the telecoms market is working correctly. So we're aware of it and we're making changes to address it.
I should point out for the Isle of Man audience, you've just had a general election, the very first such general election here. You walked back into the job as Chief Minister. In fact, in the voting, you were the most popular person on the ballot form, were you not? But you've now got a new lineup of ministers, and this gentleman you talk about here, this new position, will be almost based in the UK for most of the week, or half the week, won't he? Going out and getting business.
Yeah, and this particular minister has been spending time in the UK anyway, because we know that we've got such a symbiotic relationship with the UK, with the city. Technology is taking off also in the UK, so we have to be out there winning business for Jersey, and that's part of what this job will be.
Let's talk about things that maybe there's competition with the Isle of Man. The aircraft registry. Now, the Isle of Man's been in that business for some time, very successful. And then you, with Guernsey at one stage, were going to come in and spoil that party. That didn't work out, but you're still, both of you, proceeding to muscle in on what has been seen so far as a Manx success story.
I don't think it's muscling in on any party. We are very small places in the world, all three of us, as the Crown dependencies. So we don't need to see ourselves as competing with each other, which is perhaps where the history has been. But I think that's counterproductive. What we should be doing is where we can present a united front to the world and getting markets from elsewhere across the world, because there's plenty to go round. And if we see something that's working well in the Isle of Man, we're not too proud to do a similar thing here, as I know that that's the same attitude in the Isle of Man.
The Tri-Islands get-together, are they still happening? You all three of you chatting?
They had stopped for a while, but we reinstated them this year, where we have a Tri-Island summit. But we do meet, the three of us, on the fringes of the British Irish Council. I'll be coming to the Isle of Man later this month for that, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
And in the British Irish Council is another place, talking shop. There's one coming up, and is that really important, or I mean, do you just get lost in the other areas that all get together? Do you have a voice?
It's a very important forum for Jersey, Guernsey and the Isle of Man, because we're able to engage with senior politicians from the United Kingdom, from the devolved regions. We're able to learn from each other, and we're able to talk about issues that affect us all and hopefully develop change. We've got to remember about the backdrop that set up the British Irish Council, and it's not always easy still today in Northern Ireland and the relationship that they've got with the Republic of Ireland and with the UK government, and we play our very small part in bringing those communities together.
Now, yourself and Guernsey have a presence in Europe, do you not? You have an office. You decided to team up there, but you didn't want the Isle of Man in that club.
There are some times when we're going to be able to work together, and there are some times when we'll go our own way. The Isle of Man have had engagement and a form of representation in Brussels probably for longer than we have. We didn't have that, so we decided that Jersey and Guernsey needed to correct that anomaly.
And finally then, how chummy are you all together? I mean, do you pick up the phone and speak to Alan Bell on things, or do you still feel there is that edge, you've got to keep your cards close?
No, we get on very well indeed, and during the time that I've been Chief Minister, Alan has been Chief Minister in the Isle of Man. We've got on incredibly well, as he does with a number of other Jersey ministers, and I've also been fortunate in the two Chief Ministers that have served, or the three Chief Ministers that have served in Guernsey. I've got on very well with all of them as well. So I think it's important to have that personal relationship, because that does mean, exactly as you say, if there is an issue, you can pick up the phone, bypassing staff, and get it from the horse's mouth, as it were.
But when the Island first signed up the FATCA, they were the first ones to sort of jump. That caused a few ripples here, didn't it, down here in the Channel Islands?
Well, we took a slightly different view on the timing that we needed to make that decision. There were a particular sector of our market that we wanted to try and get a better deal for. Ultimately, we got there, but we all made ultimately the same decision, because we do know that actually presenting a united front, not being picked off one by one, is the way that we get the best deal for all three islands.
And yet you, of all people at Jersey, I'm talking about, has suffered more from these scandals that have hit the papers about these tax structures that are being set up to economise how much tax UK people were paying, and the high-profile ones we all heard about. Are you still easy about how transparent you can be, and yet still remain, in many people's eyes, a tax haven, which is a word we don't like either. I'm sure you don't like that word, but it's perceived as that.
Yeah, I mean, we have made some changes to what we're prepared to accept in Jersey when it comes to abusive or artificial or aggressive tax avoidance schemes. But because we are the larger island and we've got the larger financial services centre, we've got the longest history, then naturally the international media sort of want to pick up on us because it's lodged in people's memories. Yes, Jersey, they sort of know about
Bit
that.
of a whipping boy.
So we get that element as well. But if you actually look at what we've done, what we've said, spoken to our industry about, the way we're working with the HMRC in the UK around DOTES schemes, I think you'll find that we've got a very good story to tell, and we're aligned with the position of the G8, which is why we produced our action plan and why we're working more and more on that transparency and automatic exchange agenda.
And of course, the conference in Berlin just last week, you signed up for that.
Absolutely, yeah. My Assistant Chief Minister went out and we signed the what's known as the Common Reporting Standard, which is going to be automatic exchange of information between competent authorities and law enforcement agencies right around the world. 51 countries signed in Berlin last week. There's a whole raft of other countries that are wanting to sign up and will be almost immediate followers. So this is where the world is going, and we, together with the Isle of Man and Guernsey, are right at the forefront of it.
Are you envious about the way the Isle of Man's diversified? I mean, the decision made some years ago to go into the e-gaming thing. I know you got Alderney doing something, but I mean, the Isle of Man is seen as a key player. It's diversified, I think 10% or something so far, away from the old values of just banks. Is that something you are looking at yourself, to keep a wide portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, our financial services sector is diversified anyway. So we've got banking, which is the bedrock, but we've got funds, we've got private client businesses. We're seeing new hedge fund type businesses moving to Jersey. We have private equity. So we are well diversified anyway. We continue to work on that to make sure that that remains the case. We don't have the history of manufacturing that you have in the Isle of Man, and therefore we're not able to build it up perhaps in the same way that you have done in some sectors. But we do think that technology, we set up Digital Jersey, is going to be another pillar of our economy into the future.
You tried dipping your toes in the film industry like the Isle of Man as well?
We've got to try opportunities when they arise. We know that they're not always going to work out. We've just set up an innovation fund. We put £5 million in it. We know that when we give money out of that fund, at least 1 in 2 is going to fail. But it's so important that we deliver economic growth. It's so important that we do increase the income line without raising taxes, that we've got to take risks, calculated risks on behalf of the public.